I want you to look at these paintings. You might not realize it, but you've seen them hundreds of times. Recognize them? Well, how about now? Most players probably don't give these paintings much thought, which is understandable. There hasn't been a single painting added since 2012, and half of them are downscaled to the point where they are totally incomprehensible, which is a shame because beneath these pixels lie one of the most fascinating art projects I've ever seen. And that's why I want to totally overhaul Minecraft's decade-old painting system. But before doing that, we need to understand how Minecraft's paintings were made in the first place. Christopher Zetterstrand, the brother-in-law of Notch and the brilliant mind behind Minecraft's paintings. Early on, Zetterstrand was heavily influenced by free look mode in Counter-Strike, a state that's similar to Minecraft's spectator mode, where you can fly around and clip through the environment, resulting in images like these, liminal spaces observed from perspectives that break the game and accentuate its flaws. His guiding philosophy being that imperfections remind us of the creator, the artist, the game designer, and sometimes brings us closer to the intentions of the artwork. Zetterstrand experimented with creating his own Counter-Strike maps to capture stills exactly as he wanted. Later on, he played with terrain generating software that he would deliberately crash and paint the resulting broken landscape. All of these works culminated in the final evolution of Zetterstrand's artistic process, where he'd use computer programs to sculpt a digital diorama that he'd painstakingly paint. His work is the confluence of modern digital art and painting, a more traditional medium. In that way, he was ahead of his time. Remember, he was doing this in the early 2000s where people were debating whether or not video games were actually art. Anyway, Notch saw his brother-in-law's art and thought that it would be cool to add it into Minecraft as fun decorations. Talk about being in the right place at the right time. Zetterstrand agreed, and his work was digitized and brutally downscaled for the game. So that's how the sausage was made. You'll never look at Minecraft's paintings the same now that you know it's digital art that was painted and turned back into digital art to be displayed as a painting in a video game. If you want a deeper dive into the history of Minecraft's paintings, you gotta check out SolarSand's video about them. The link is in the description. Anyway, Christopher Zetterstrand left some big shoes to fill, which is why overhauling this long, enduring system is so intimidating. To make it worse, I have no painting experience and I'm terrible at drawing. But thankfully, we have technology, specifically artificial intelligence. Image generating AI has come a long way in the past couple years. Most of you are probably familiar with DALL-E 2, which creates images based on user input text prompts, and the results are astonishing, to say the least. A true triumph of computer science. But remember, this is Minecraft we're talking about. We don't need something this powerful or expensive when your average 2x2 painting is only 64 by 64 pixels. You see, if DALL-E 2 is the jackhammer of AI image generation, then Crayon is the stapler, which is just fine for our use case. And it works exactly the same way, but the results are not nearly as good. Sometimes you get some that are unusable, which is typical. Well, actually, all these results are really good. When you find something you like, make sure that you download it because you'll never see it again. This AI has an element of randomness, which means that you'll never get the same image twice, but that just makes an interesting result all that much more special. Sometimes images are perfect, but on occasion they'll need some light photo editing, nothing a few minutes of GIMP can't solve. When I'm happy with the image, I downscale to 128 by 128, still twice the resolution of your typical Minecraft painting, except you can clearly see what the painting is supposed to be about. Then I apply Floyd Steinberg dithering, which gives the painting an unmistakable Minecraft-like quality. Next, I go back into GIMP and give it a wooden border that complements the art. Finally, I go into Blockbench and do some custom resource pack setup to have the painting display in-game, and voila, you have a custom painting. So I repeated this process until I had 27 paintings. Minecraft normally only has 26 paintings. Believe it or not, I didn't do this to one-up Mojang. I actually have a very good reason, which I'll go into later in the video. Minecraft's paintings are timeless. It's the system itself that I feel needs an update. Normally, when you place a painting, you get a random image. If you don't get the image you want, it's not a big deal, you can just break the painting and try again. Recently, I have been playing a one-block Minecraft map where you start with a single block of dirt floating in a void and proceed to beat the game. Playing in a world where I can look around and know that I placed every single block made me realize something. When I play Minecraft, I fret over always being efficient and planning out farms and builds to the point where the game is almost stressful sometimes. But in this world, I realized that the game is at its best when you're not doing any of that. Minecraft is at its best when you are simply existing in the world that you built. For that reason, I believe that fishing, yes fishing, is the most underrated, underappreciated system in the game. It doesn't require any elaborate planning or farms, and the loot isn't even that good, to the point where most players probably don't fish at all. Fishing, as it is now, is a mindless activity that you can enjoy while taking in the atmosphere that you created block by block. Much like fishing, I wanted a painting overhaul to be relaxing and not require any elaborate farms to get started. But I also wanted to engage the player and make them feel like they were the ones creating the paintings. So here's my proposal. A player will craft a blank canvas using 8 sticks and 1 piece of paper in the middle. Here is a normal 2x2 painting. I personally don't use them much since I find even numbers are awkward to build with. You'll be surprised to hear that every single painting I made in this data pack is also a 2x2 painting. But look what happens when I place it. I know, it's weird, but trust me, they become infinitely more practical when they are centered on a single block. And this is where things get really crazy. You make paintings by throwing 3 dyes at a blank canvas. How cool is that? In traditional color theory, you use red, yellow, and blue to make any other color. In this new painting system, you can only throw red, yellow, and blue dyes at a blank canvas to make a painting. It won't work with any other dyes, which is by design. So back to 27, today's magic number. There are 27 paintings because 3 times 3 times 3 is 27. This is a permutation-based painting system, which means the order you throw dyes at the canvas affect the painting you get. So let's say I go blue, blue, yellow. I get an eagle, my favorite painting in the whole data pack. Now let's go yellow, blue, blue. As you can see, I don't get an eagle, I get nightmares. I'm sure most of you probably don't consider yourselves artists. I certainly don't consider myself to be an artist. Before I show you more custom paintings, I want all my fellow non-art experts out there to listen to this brief portion of a Q&A Christopher Zetterstrand gave 9 years ago.
Hello.
Hi.
It's going to seem like a dumb question, but I'll just go ahead and ask it. I always feel like I'm sort of art illiterate, like I just sort of don't get it.
Yeah.
You know, and even you described a lot of your work as weird as you were showing it.
Yeah.
I mean, what would you say to somebody who sees art, sees like the Andy Warhol bit with the, soup cans and goes, okay, well, what am I supposed to take from that? I mean, what's the meaning of it? So if you could speak to kind of that.
It's hard to answer because sometimes there is nothing to get in a way. It's all about what you make of it in a way, And of course, a lot of art has this barrier of, in a sense that you sort of feel that there's something you should know, and that makes you feel, and you don't know it, so you feel a bit like you're not included in the, the context. And that can be a barrier itself, So when you have this idea and when you persuade yourself, you're not supposed to get it, then you can't get it. And perhaps in many cases there isn't a finished solution to the answer of the artwork or so, the question.
In my opinion, that's what makes Minecraft's original paintings, along with all of Zetterstrand's other work, so great. It's accessible, there's no gatekeeping, you don't need to know anything to enjoy it. His art isn't supposed to mean anything except for what it means to the viewer. It can be enjoyed in your own way, much like Minecraft itself. I'm gonna stop talking now and show you all the custom paintings. If you want to actually play this data pack in your world, you should stop watching now. You will enjoy the data pack so much more if you go into it completely blind and discover the paintings yourself. If you're not interested in playing it, then sit back, relax, and enjoy. My name is Whimzee. Thank you for watching.
He's a magical blacksmith from lands unknown. He's your favorite data pack and ice cream cone. You might ask yourself, who is he? It's Whimzee.